Guys, welcome to episode 8 of the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Not too shabby. After some technical difficulties, I feel like we got this show off the.
Talking in. I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, perfect. I feel a lot. That
I
better?
went out again.
How about now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if it's microphone or not.
Awesome. So, what do you think this week of the season?
NFL. Well, it was a weird week in football. There's a couple big upsets. I know everybody's real excited or real interested in hearing about what the 49ers did, but they got their doors blown off at home by the Dolphins, which I still can't figure out what happened there.
Never understand when anybody loses to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean they lost 43-17 at home. So
Yeah.
I thought the Raiders looked for real. They went in Arrowhead and won, and they won kind of going away.
Yep.
So more brilliance from Russell Wilson, leading his team at the end of that game to another win. I think we're seeing a lot more chinks in the armor from Drew Brees. I've been saying that for the last year, but he looks very marginal at best. They did eke out a win at the end there, but I don't see him going anywhere with Drew Brees.
Father Time is undefeated, and it's catching up.
Yeah, right. And we saw that on Thursday night with Brady.
Yep.
Forgot what down it was. And plus, just, didn't play a sharp game, even up to that fourth down, or thought it was third down, but really was fourth down. Just didn't look like vintage Brady. You figured I was watching that game. I see Matt Nagy throw the ball on second down just to basically assured that Brady was going to have at least like a minute and a half to come back and needing a field goal. I mean, in 20 years of watching Tom Brady, I would have bet anything that he was coming down and they were kicking a field goal winning that game. But no, I mean, he didn't even come close.
The mystique is gone, especially this season.
Yeah. You just kind of saw it last year too, and the year before that when they beat the Chiefs. They got to the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl, but you can just kind of see that they weren't the same.
Yeah.
So you definitely saw that with Brady on that Thursday night, and then obviously last night we had football too. Tuesday night football with Tennessee looks for real as well. So those are probably takeaways for me.
What
so Dan Quinn got fired finally. So Bill O'Brien, Dan Quinn.
He's lasted 2 or 3 more additional seasons.
But Adam Gase still holds on to his job.
Exactly.
Strange.
Yeah, he's awful. He really is horrible.
Yep. And another observation I had was look at what Ryan Tannehill's doing with Tennessee, and Adam Gase had Ryan Tannehill in Miami, and he was terrible. So that's just even another indictment on Adam Gase and how bad he is.
I think he's proving that he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
He duped.
Yeah, he was
with
supposed to be some kind of quarterback whisperer.
Oh, he
was Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator in Denver, and then he parlayed that into 2 head coaching jobs by now. He'll be out of the league though.
He's milked that big time.
Yeah.
What do you think about Dak Prescott?
Oh, I forgot about that. That's another huge takeaway. I don't want to rewatch the injury. That's for sure.
Dude, heading in the wrong direction.
Gross. The compound fracture, which means it was sticking through the skin.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Gross. So, I mean, I don't see him coming back this year.
Well, they said 4 to 6 months, and he's playing on the franchise tag, obviously. Yeah. And they said Breeze and Kirk Cousins, the only two other guys to play on the franchise tag.
You mean this year?
Yeah, quarterbacks to play on the franchise tag, and he's the only one
Oh.
to really have a serious injury.
Yeah,
But
think
I
he'll
love
be-
that
he'll be fine. I think he'll be back. If he
I
was
think
a
it-
running back or wide receiver, it'd be a big problem. But I think he'll be okay.
if he doesn't have any
eventually.
setbacks, he should be fine. I feel as if
Right.
he's mobile, but running, he's still a thrower. So as long as you're a pocket passer, you're good to go.
Yeah, they have to be careful with those infections though.
Yeah.
With the compound fractures. That's what Alex Smith dealt with. And it's funny because Alex Smith made his debut after that gruesome injury. He made his debut back in the league on Sunday as well. So it was another big story.
How great was that to see?
Yeah.
Obviously, there were no, minimal fans in the stands, but his family was there. They got to see him back on the field. I'm sure that, big monkey off his back.
Yeah.
Big day. There was no Patriots football this weekend. So
Nope.
I think we have a bye week on Brady versus Belichick.
They got to buy.
Let's see. We had a bunch of other stuff we wanted to discuss. Now, obviously, we're going to have a big baseball segment coming up.
Okay.
We're going to talk Yankees. But first, let's discuss our mailbag question.
All right.
The mailbag today is from Julio in Long Island. What other podcasts do you guys listen to and why? So you want to take the first crack at this one, Todd?
Okay. So, my first ever podcast I ever listened to was the one your wife recommended, which was called Serial. And that's what got me into podcasts a little bit. But I've always been more of a sports radio fanatic, if you will. And so since I've been a big fan of Outkick the Coverage on Fox Sports Radio with Clay Travis.
Yep.
I've been following his show religiously for 3+ years, probably 4 years now. And, since he became partners over the summer with Jason Whitlock. And so Whitlock's got his own podcast now, and there is a podcast that Clay Travis does called Wins and Losses. And the other one that I think they're both great. And then the other one that just started, it's not a sports podcast, but I think it's going to be really good, is Megyn Kelly's podcast. I don't know if you've heard that she's got a new one.
No, when did that
Mark
start?
Cuban on it. Started a couple weeks ago. Mark Cuban was one of her first guests. So yeah, I think that's going to be a definite must listen to.
Is it all politics or what is it?
It definitely leans politics, but I mean, Megyn Kelly's pretty much right down the middle. So I feel like should be a good platform for her to kind of share some factual information that's doesn't have a ton of agenda in it. So those, to answer the question, those would be like the ones that I definitely pay a lot of attention to. How about you?
Most of my podcasts are sports related.
Mm-hmm.
I started with the first one. My favorite is the original JJ Reddick podcast that was on the Ringer.
Right.
So he's got his new podcast that he does on his own that he actually owns the content to, The Old Man and the Three. It's him and Tommy Alter. And Tommy Alter's a producer for Showtime. He does a lot of stuff with LeBron James. He's big. He's a TV producer and writer, is what he does. And it's a great mixture of sports, a little bit of politics, more towards the liberal side. But you're getting really an opportunity to listen to these athletes, one speak to another athlete. And, it seems like a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere and much less than a typical podcast where, it's typical questions. These are questions, they're asking about stuff on the road. You're getting to hear some behind the scenes stories that you're definitely not hearing somewhere else. And the quality of the questions that JJ Reddick asks is beyond surprising to me.
Wow.
It's by far, it's my every comes out every week. And I listen to it every week.
Yeah. Okay.
Then let's see here. I'm going through my list right now. I do PTI, which is a show that you just listened to, obviously. I listened to another Rhode Island favorite, Mike Stud. You never know. It's his podcast. He was a former basketball player, rapper. The Call Her Daddy podcast. That's good. The Woj Pod. Smartless. You listen to Smartless?
I've never heard it now.
Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. They have a podcast, and each week, one of them brings in a guest. They don't prep for it, and it's just they surprise the other two.
Wow.
And it's usually somebody in entertainment, sometimes somebody in politics, but that's by far my other go-to. And then all the other sports ones, this typical. I did try to give the All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson a try.
Is that any good?
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
I'm surprised you haven't listed Joe Rogan because I think isn't that the most popular one going right now?
You know what? I have it, and I could have been like, "Oh yeah, listen, that's great." I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, I've never listened to his.
They say
a
it's
lot
amazing,
of people recommend it though.
If you listen to his stand-up, which I assume it's a decent amount of that, like that type of perspective, I feel that this is going to be very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, it must be.
Exactly. All right. Well, that way they kind of get an idea of where our takes come from. Pretty soon,
right?
The Ocean State Athlete Spotlight will be somebody else's favorite podcast.
That would be nice
to listen to. And if we're being honest to everybody listening, I definitely listen to our podcast while we're driving around
for critique.
And I hate the way I sound then. Let's see. All right. So baseball playoffs, Major League playoffs.
Oh yeah.
And Yankees. So I'm going to put the microphone down 1 second here. And Todd, just go.
It's another example of just Yankees failure in the playoffs that we see coming year after year. They're not built and equipped to win in the playoffs, but they keep telling their fan base that they are. They've spent a ton of money and they still haven't fixed any problems with the reason why they're not getting to the World Series. They keep thinking they're close. They're not. We talked about it last week with starting Tanaka in game 3. That awful blunder that happened in game 2 where they threw out Garcia and they let Happ come in and pitch second inning as a bulk guy. It's really disheartening to watch. It's like I'm watching a rerun every year. It's just so frustrating. And game 5 was so frustrating too. They spent a ton of money on Garrett Cole to come in and pitch that game. And he threw 94 pitches. He's into the 6th inning. He's got 1 out. He's throwing a 1-hitter. Granted, the 1 hit was a solo home run, but guy's throwing a 1-hitter.
Yeah.
And Aaron Boone comes and takes him out. And you just knew what was going to happen from there.
What's your opinion on Aaron Boone not just after that situation, but now you've had a little bit of time?
I think the Aaron Boone experiment has to be considered. I mean, in the playoffs, he's just not been good. Look, the guy's won 100 regular season games a couple years in a row, and that's great, But I see the Yankees as, the team I grew up loving was really believed that if they didn't get to or win the World Series, then the season was a failure.
Yeah.
I don't see that anymore. I honestly think that they're satisfied with making the playoffs, contending for a division, and if they go far, they go far. But they don't have to. I just don't see that urgency, and you can kind of see how it plays out on the field, like with the moves that they make. They bring in these high-priced, Giancarlo Stanton types, and he had a good playoff run. But I mean,
first time he's healthy is because he only had to play 50 regular season games.
Yeah, he didn't even play that many.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that the Yankees fan base, if they think, I was listening to his end of season press conference today, and they keep saying how close they are, and I just keep laughing every time I hear it. The bottom line is anytime that you're expecting to win a World Series or even get to a World Series and you're starting J-Happ a washed-up Masahiro Tanaka and Jordan Montgomery, then you're fooling yourself. I think that's really the bottom line. And no matter how great this lineup is on paper, they disappear at times, especially Aaron Judge. I know Aaron Judge is the big fan favorite. I get all that, but I don't think he's that good. I just don't. I don't see it. The guy had 3 hits in the playoffs. He's always hurt. He does not. He has shown himself to not be able to really hit good pitching. He's got a lot of holes in his swing, and good pitching and good scouting reports. You know how to get Aaron Judge out in a big spot. And that's, to me, he's a good player. He wants to be a elite level player. He's not. He's just not that good. Honestly, if we had a more shrewd general manager other than Brian Cashman, who I think is the most overrated general manager in baseball.
Anybody could be good with an unlimited budget.
Right. He's made the no-brainer decisions like in 09, he signed CC Sabathia at the winter meetings. And last year he signed Garrett Cole. Okay. I mean, those are all that takes is money is to sign those guys. But if you count up all the things that he's whiffed on, I could go back to 2010 where he had a deal in place to get Cliff Lee at the deadline, and he refused to make that deal because he didn't want to trade Eduardo Nunez. And so instead of the Yankees bringing in Cliff Lee and defending their World Series championship, Cliff Lee goes to Texas, and we lose to Texas in the ALCS. That's number one. And Eduardo Nunez, a guy who was a marginal defensive. I guess he was a pretty good hitter in the minors, but he played shortstop and third base, and we had A-Rod and Jeter in those positions. Like, why do you need Eduardo Nunez?
Well, you need a backup, obviously. Like, you need a backup.
Instead,
obviously.
we get to watch Cliff Lee beat us in the playoffs that year. And then there's other examples of that too.
All right, so those are the misses, right?
That's one of them.
Well, that's a miss, a huge miss. That's an extended huge miss.
Yeah.
Give me 2 moves this offseason that you want to see that you think, even if you get 3, I'll give you 3.
If it was my call, this is exactly how I would fix the Yankees. Right. I would trade Luke Voit. I would sell high on him because he's coming off a great year. He's still young and affordable. Mm-hmm. I would trade him and a couple other prospects for a real starting pitcher to slot in behind Garrett Cole. I don't know who that might be. I don't know who's available to be a trade, but that would be like high on my list because Luke Voigt's a good player. He's a nice story, but how many right-handed power bats do we need? So I would trade Luke Voit for a really good 3 or even a 2 starter, depending on what you can get for him.
Okay.
Then I think re-signing DJ LeMahieu has got to be a huge priority, and I would sign him and move him back to first base. And because Voit would be gone, I would move Torres back to second. I think Torres has shown himself to be a big league second baseman. I don't think he's good enough to play shortstop. Okay. I think his defensive woes really affected him at the plate this year. So I would move him back to second. And I would just sign a real slick fielding shortstop. I'd even bring Didi back. He only signed a 1 year at Philly.
Okay.
You bring Didi back. He's healthy. He's a great defensive shortstop. He's great in the clubhouse, and he's a left-handed bat. So I would do that. And then, depending on how much money they're going to spend and depending on who Luke Voit got you in return, I think you got to take a hard look at Trevor Bauer. That's what I would do. I don't think any of those moves will happen except for maybe re-signing DJ with Cashman. So I think if you do those couple moves there, you shore up your pitching staff with the Bauer and the Voit trade. You make your defense better by moving DJ back to first base, who's a better defensive first baseman. You have Torres, a better second baseman, and then you bring Didi in. And you give another left-handed bat who's a clutch guy in Didi. And I think it'd be a home run. And those 3 moves right there. If you're really talking go crazy, I would look at Francisco Lindor. I think he'd be great in Yankee Stadium too, the left-handed shortstop. If you really wanted to, instead of signing Didi, go get Lindor. I don't think it'll happen, but That's what I would do.
So those listening, let's start a petition, Todd, for the GM of the Yankees. I feel as if
Oh
like it's a
boy.
no-brainer.
Yep.
So we
I mean,
have to get we do have to get to though the finals. Lakers
Okay.
win. You being a LeBron guy, what do you think? We're gonna touch this again with our guests, so we're gonna touch it quickly here, but we'll.
I wonder how this finals will be looked at. You know, it's a 4th championship for LeBron, but like I don't know if it got nearly the kind of, you know, celebration that his other championships got, especially the one in Cleveland.
Mhm.
I don't think this is anywhere close to that in terms of, you know,
Importance.
viewership and popularity and respect and all that. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I mean, the ratings were awful for the NBA finals. I don't know what that was. I don't know why. I mean, speculate, different
Yeah.
subject, but I mean, look, couldn't have been easy. They got a break with the Clippers going down, I think. So, but good teams generally get a break like that. I mean, the Warriors always got breaks in the playoffs when they were winning. Every year they got, you know, somebody went down. You know, Kyrie, you know, missed in game 1 in overtime. He got hurt the first go around against the Cavs. So look, they got some breaks. They took advantage of them.
Yeah.
Look, it's a 4th world championship for LeBron. He's gonna go down as, you know, a top 5 all-time player. On the court, you can't argue with him. I mean, the guy's an amazing talent. He's 36 years old. You know, I've traditionally been a really big LeBron James fan. I still am. But this was just it was different for me. How about you?
So I'm gonna go super hot takes
All right.
today. I'm gonna go very extreme. I think this is gonna help cement LeBron James as top 2 basketball
Like top
of all
2
time.
or like number 2?
No, top 2. Or it strengthened his argument. I think the amount of time he's been able to be great for, I think people are going to start to really appreciate that as he gets longer in his career and he's able to play for maybe another 3-4 more years. That's one. I think there'll be a greater appreciation for LeBron as he enters the twilight of his career. And then I think that people are going to say, look at the extended greatness. And you'll never know because Michael Jordan cut it short. But what he's able to do, and you look at the parts he's able to play with. All right, AD is a top 6, top 7 player in the game right now. But guess what? Besides that, you got a bunch of spare parts.
Yeah.
Nobody that anybody's really begging for. You know what I mean? Kuzma, you know, has shown himself to be kind of a bust, you know, or not nearly as good as advertised. 2, Jimmy Butler is gonna start getting some Hall of Fame attention.
Really?
He's the type. This is you know. Also, I also said Giannis sucked 2 weeks ago, so you know
that's true.
I think you're going to start seeing that. That's the way you build a team with a player who really wants to win, supportive role players, young talent, and I think maybe the end of the big 3 era, and maybe it's 1 superstar again, maybe 2 is all you need, and then you start players who really have to play, who really want to play and want to win. And I think the big 3 era, and I also think you're going to see that, you know, fans are going to get sick of the one-way players, the James Harden style player. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a change to that. You know, the 2-way player being a little bit more appreciated. Could be totally wrong, but that's what
I'd sign up for that right now. Exactly. I wonder how it's going to go down though, because KD's going to be back next year. Yeah. You know, Golden State's going to go out and do something. You know, the Clippers, they're going to have a new coach, so
it's going to be interesting. I think next year is going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to this oddly timed off season.
Yeah. I think I've made the argument for LeBron before, you know, in the Jordan conversation. Yeah. It's not as open and shut as a lot of people have you say, but I will say this: there's when LeBron, you're not going to really have the conversation until really be able to have a fair conversation until he retires, because
agreed.
You know, I grew up watching Michael Jordan, and there's something about after, you know, when you look back on their careers and like you start to never even remember any shot that Michael Jordan ever missed in his career,
Yeah.
and people give him that credit that he walked on water. And like
Yeah.
watching it, he missed a couple. He
Yeah.
actually lost some playoff series,
Yeah.
So giving him that benefit of, looking back on in the careers in its entirety, the only way you could have the debate,
Yeah. Agreed.
you know.
Agreed. Well, we're
I
going to
still
discuss
take
this.
Jordan though.
We're going to discuss this more with our guest when he comes on. So we're
Okay.
going to take a break. Guys, when we come back, we're going to have Dave Tedeschi, the director of basketball for the Rhode Island Magic, former Feinstein High School basketball coach. And we're going to discuss all things hoops from AAU to high school to the college to NBA. And then we're going to have our fantasy draft, which is a super cool topic this week. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll come right back.
All right.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Oak State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. We're excited to bring in today Coach Dave Tedeschi. He is the director of basketball for Rhode Island Magic AAU, and he's a former high school basketball coach at Feinstein High School, amongst many other coaching stops along the way. Dave, what's going on, bud?
No, nothing much. Thank you very much for having me on tonight.
No, super excited. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I've known you for a majority of my adult life and growing up. You started at CLCF. You went to Western Hills, then to West, right? And then did you jump right from being an assistant with Mr. Moretti at Feinstein, or did you take a break in the middle?
No, I coached continuously. This is the first year I think I really might not have coached in the calendar year because of COVID for 30 straight years.
Oh, wow.
So I was fortunate enough to start my senior year in high school at CLCF and continued from there. And after when I was with Moretti, I just started with, I got hired in Providence as a full-time teacher. So I was at a new school with a lot of kids that wanted to play basketball. At the time, they were like in 9th to 10th grade.
Yeah.
So I worked on building that program as well. So, and then from there, I built it, and we got accepted into the Scholastic League, and then I started off with that group as the JV coach. So I went.
Who was the varsity coach there?
That was Floyd Narcisse.
Okay.
Floyd came over. Floyd was a great guy.
Oh yeah, Floyd was one of the good ones.
Yeah, one of the good ones. And then when he left to head over to Central is when I took over the boys in 2001.
So did you have your own set in coaching style, or was Floyd a super huge impact, or who was the impacts along the way in your coaching career?
Jim Moretti, definitely Jim Moretti first. He was the one that took me under his wing. I was very fortunate, along the way when you're 18, 19, 20, and you're starting off and you're coaching travel and you're coaching kids that in some cases are only, 3, 4, 5 years old than you. I had a lot of parents that were very good coaches that, took some time, took me under their wing. At that time, there was no tech, it wasn't internet really to watch videos and stuff. So I did it the old school way, read a lot of books. The Morgan Wooten book on how to build a program was really instrumental to me. Went to a lot of coaches clinics and had a lot of conversations with a lot of coaches. But Jim Moretti was the first one to kind of take me under my wing, take me into his practices. And I kind of built the philosophy from there. Floyd was more of a motivator.
Okay.
I was actually responsible when I was a JV coach. Like I was the X and O guy. So like I ran that part of practice. I ran that part of the games. That wasn't he had a ton of strengths. But he was a delegator too. So he delegated that portion to me. And I've learned a lot from my Magic coaches. We talk basketball all the time, and we share. We do some coaching clinics together. We certainly talk the game on a regular basis. So I've learned a lot from that. Leaving high school and then coming back up and doing it again with my children certainly made me a better coach.
So we're gonna get to the Magic stuff in a little bit because there's the list on the website. It's very diverse. It's there's some great coaches. There's some great
Impressive.
former players on here. A lot of great high school coaches on here. You've got it's a well-rounded group, and I was, when I brought you on the podcast, and I was discussing with a few people at the office who all know Dave and everybody, and we're going through the staff. It reminds me a lot of the old Breakers program when I was growing up, and you had a lot of guys who were already successful and had come back to AAU to coach, or you had guys that were young and up and coming coaches, and there were people in the program that you could just tell that were going to be great coaches so far, but you had the elder statesmen that were really, giving advice, and they have a lot of credibility to your program. We're going to list these names in a second, but I do want to get back to Feinstein.
Yeah, let's go to Feinstein.
Really quick. And Todd, I think this was when we were in college. So when I was in college, I used to actually referee Dave's JV games at Feinstein at the John Hope Settlement House, right? That was the home court.
I've had some really good JV refs.
Yeah,
I had Mike Stevens was we got some Division I college referees that ref those JV games.
Exactly. There's some great guys. You could call them a lot of favors to referee those games. So for the people listening, and for Todd in particular, because he's from Connecticut, explain to everybody how good those teams were. Because I think overall in the spectrum of what people know about Rhode Island high school basketball in particular, that group, especially, I believe it was the 04 group that
the 06, we won Division III in 06.
Yep.
In 07, we won Division II, and we won the championship game by 30.
Yes.
Pre-open tournament. In Division in 08, we got upset. But we were arguably, the best team in the state for the two of those last 3 years.
You're by far the best team in the state. I don't think.
I'm trying to be,
Yeah, no, we can.
Jamal and Hendricken might have something to say about that. We played them in the summer league and won, by 20, but they would say something different. But in 07, the only team we lost to was a team out of Charleston that had Sebastian Napier.
Okay.
Shabazz Napier, who ended up obviously in the NBA, and I was down my all-state player, and we lost a close. Time a little bit. It was right on the cusp of when all the best players left high school and went to prep school. We had a unique situation. We, being in Providence, there's so much talent in Providence. And, I had built in the coaching staff, we had built a good reputation about, kid-centered program where you have to be in school, you have to be doing your work if you're going to play. So a lot of the local AAU teams and some of the middle schools, really recommended a lot of the better players to come to Feinstein. And that built. Yep. So it started with Justin Adams, who stayed. And, my first year, we were 1-24. And everybody's like, this is, this guy's terrible. He doesn't know what he's doing. The kids are over, I want to go here, I want to go there. And I said, you got to stay the course. You got to try, we had to build a philosophy and a program, and we had to get the kids to buy in. And, and we made the playoffs every year after that. And because of those first couple of years with guys like Justin Adams and Shane Cronin, Sebastian, then it went to Thierry Mombe, Jerron Jackson, and then it got us to the Jarrell Gomes and the Alberto Buenos that, really jumped us up another level.
I had a quick question for you. I didn't play AAU ball. I know a lot about it. I hear a lot about it. Just, for me, for my sake, and for listeners, you mentioned that a lot of players skipped high school and they went to play in the prep program. But what do you think the catalyst for that has been? What are the benefits of that, and how does it differentiate from just playing in high school?
So I think, it started with St. Andrews, about 20 years ago, where it was proven that if you're a really good high school player and have the ability to potentially play it as a scholarship level, the Division II, Division I level, that extra year to reclassify, to get that extra year of growth, maturity, work on your body, work on your game, started to become a way to, get some more exposure and also to get some more experience. So as that became more popular, a lot of the AAU programs started recommending that their players start to do that and sending them to prep schools across New England, in Rhode Island as well. And that now has morphed into, a lot of players now reclassifying for the first time in 8th grade and starting before they even get to high school, starting that process. And then a lot of kids do it again, at the end of 10th or 11th grade as well. With the benefit being that, college coaches don't care if you're 19 or 20 when you go. You're more mature. You're more ready to play college level basketball. So that's what's been a real big change in high school. It's affected high school basketball dramatically.
Yeah.
In years, because a lot of the better players in the state play very little, if any, high school basketball.
So do is the AAU team, is it part of the school, or is it almost like extracurricular, and they just kind of, you work with the school on, you said keeping them in the classroom and stuff like that?
AAU is totally separate. So like our season is fall. We stop, in November, normally the first week of November. So when middle school and high school picks up, and then we don't start again until those seasons are over, the middle to end of March. So we're totally separate. What I liked about my players in high school used to play for an AAU program that held the kids accountable, and not all programs do. So I would call them up and say, hey, the high school season's over. I could hold them accountable, and during the season, and I had what they wanted, those minutes and that playing time. But after the season, when they started to slack and I would be on them, I'd be calling, I'd be going to the house, those minutes were gone. But AAU had those minutes. And if I would call up a lot of one of the programs that most of my kids played for, they would hold them accountable and sit them. They saw the connection and the value of that basketball.
So what would be a reason for that? Just, not showing up to class, or
not showing up to class, not coming to school, not doing what they're supposed to do in class. It's basketball. The book Hope that was written about Hope High School's basketball team, and basketball in an urban environment has a lot of challenges for a variety of reasons. So creating that culture and being able to hold that accountable year round, that was something that I was happy that I worked with an AU program that did that. I was one of the ones that was really strict on those rules, in student athletes, student being first. And it's something I've taken over with me to the Magic as well. We talk about that with our kids and do some things with that as well.
Now that you're with the Magic, you started with the Magic coaching your son's age group, right? After you took a little bit of a break.
Yep.
And now you've built the Rhode Island Magic into essentially the premier program in the state, especially with the coaching staff that you have. Because I want to discuss what you're looking for in coaches when you get them, because unlike some programs, it's not daddy ball. It's a lot of coaches with reputations. Ones that pop up: Dean Brignoli, who I played against; Henry Coleman, who I believe was a former Rhode Island High School Coach of the Year, right? Twice. Mark DeAmber's a high school coach. Ramon de Los Santos was at Bryant. Brandon DePaula's at
head coach in North Smithfield.
Matt Fontaine's at, I'm just going down the list. Matt Fontaine is at Pilgrim. Jeff Kerbeck has been everywhere. Rick Harris is at CCRI and at Cranston East. Jack Madden's a Cumberland guy. You have, I'm sure I'm missing some. Dean Falsetti was at Charahoe. Now he's at Prout. My alma mater. Way to go, Dean. You should retire my number already. Mike Tataga's been at Smithfield. JJ's coached at college, coached in high school. JJ Pierpoli. Josh Yaw is at Alvarez. With you, where you're at currently.
He's one of my workout guys a lot of times. Yep. He coached the classical. With connections and relationships. When I started off as a coach, I ended up morphing into a co-director. Then it became director, and then I became kind of the owner and director of the program. So as we kept growing, I kept reaching out to my the coaches that I knew and that I worked with and that I respected. And I say that we do have some fathers that coach, but I always say they were coaches before they were fathers, like I was.
Yeah, right.
And certainly we do have some fathers that coach. We have a couple, but they're in it for the right reasons. So I'm looking for passionate coaches that do not have egos, that are in it for the kids. And that's what I've been able to find. Everybody's here about helping kids be the best players they can be. And basketball has been really good to me. It's been good to a lot of our coaches. We talk about this all the time. So, transferring those lessons that you can learn on the court and how they relate to life all the time. That's what I'm looking for. The coaches that get that.
So with your coaches, right, and your players, we had a lot of parents that listen to this podcast, parents of players, and we have a lot of players that listen to this podcast. The ages vary. When a kid comes to tryouts, obviously, if he's a stud and he's the most talented, that's an easy, you're good, you're in.
Mm.
But that kid who is in the middle of the pack or towards the bottom of the pack, what are you looking for in that kid? And this also speaks to the parents. So
absolutely.
we have some real expectations for our children.
And
not everybody's going to be great, and you're training parents to see basketball as a tool for education, and not to just get you a we're all not going to the NBA. Most of us are 6-foot white guys with jump shots.
I spend a lot of my time tempering parents' expectations about where their children, future lies. And you look at the best players in the state and where are they playing every year. So I spend a lot of time on that, and I try to tell kids and parents the same thing. What is your, if you're at the younger age, where do you see your role in your town at the middle school, and what can we do to help you with that? And as you get to high school, in some cases, we sent 10 players to college last year. We're trying to help kids be college ready to play. And others, we're trying to help them be their 9th man on their varsity team that might play 6 minutes a game, but embrace that role and do the best you can to be ready for more and fight for more. Mm-hmm. We look for those type of attributes. We're looking for, and we tell the kids to tryouts, we're looking for hustle. We're looking for teamwork and camaraderie. We're looking at your basketball skill set. We spend a lot of our tryouts doing drills that will showcase your skills, and we'll try to put you in some pressure situations to see how you handle that. So we're looking to see how kids react to setbacks.
So what kind of reactions do you get? How do those conversations go with the parents? Are they realistic? Mostly because
I'm brutally honest.
All right, good. Because you hear a lot of this participation trophy generation. I've actually helped out a few times some youth basketball in neighborhoods. Just helping out. My neighbors coaching, and I would go be assistant. And they'd have these set, where everybody plays the same amount of minutes. And one league, I think it was a YMCA league, they actually had 8 quarters, so every kid could be a starter. And I'm like, I get all that. I just know how I grew up, but coming from maybe a program like that, and then having to have a conversation with a parent, how does that go?
It's I'm big on communication and transparency. So we have a parent meeting during our tryouts. It's on our website. The rule for the Magic is that your child will play 25%. That's the minimum playing time. So most halves of 60 minutes, they'll play 4 minutes the first half, they'll play 4 minutes in the second half. And then I follow that up with, I know everybody who's listening to me right now thinks it's not their child, so you're not worried about that. But I'm telling you right now, it is your child. So you can't call me back and say, yeah, but I didn't think you were talking to me because my kid scores 25 points a game in rec. And well, I tell everybody right then. And I don't get phone calls about it because we're transparent about the process. I'm transparent about the ability for kids to play in college. We're going to help them. We're going to do the best we can to work. But the reality is it's really hard to play college basketball. It's really tough. And I think a lot of parents have a concept of what college basketball was like a generation ago when they may have known some people who played. It's changed dramatically in the last generation. In the last 20 to 25 years. And I talked with a respected coach, and he gave me a really good line. He's like, kids that were Division 3 players right now today would be Division 2 players a generation ago. And that's the truth. It's like, and the kids that are Division 3 players a generation ago, they wouldn't be playing. They wouldn't be good enough because the game is involved with training. It's involved with the player's skill set. A generation ago, you played basketball for 3 months, you played baseball, you played soccer. Now kids are specializing at such a young age, and they're getting training at such a young age. They are better. The game is evolved. So it's much harder to play college basketball now. And I'm really transparent about that.
Yeah.
You kind of answered my next question, because I always have the thought that, or the question is watered down as it was when your kids at Feinstein played.
It's different. I coached, one of my first coaching jobs was AAU at the Breakers. Mm-hmm. And when I coached, they had 2 teams I coached an 11th grade second team, and everybody on that second team, I think, was all league. first or second team all league. They were all really good players. And right now in Rhode Island, we have over 100 AAU basketball teams this season in Rhode Island. So watered down, I would say it's different. There are a lot more players that are playing it. And again, where the focus, I think, 20 and 25 years ago, and even, with my Feinstein guys, was, the high level players. I think now it's become a little bit what I mentioned earlier, is helping players be the best player they can be. There's a lot of high schools, in Rhode Island, and a lot of kids are going to, a lot of kids that people say, that's a watered down team. Well, that player is going to stop for his high school team his junior year. So we're trying to help him be the best player he can be for his high school. And that's what we work on. So it's definitely a lot more teams. I think there's just a lot more players that are looking to play year round now, because it's also become a much more popular sport in the last generation as well. So that's changed it as well. LeBron James have changed the world. Kobe Bryant have changed the popularity of basketball.
Oh, 110%. So I want to read something off to you, and then we're going to make the transition to get your little opinion of what happened in the NBA Finals.
All right.
I want to read some stats off, and I want you to give me your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
1,580 points, 3-time All New England, second team All Prep League, college, partial college scholarship. What would your opinion be of that player right now?
So without having I don't feel like I have all the information, because I don't know what prep league they played in.
Yep.
That's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I talk to parents about. Division III versus Division I in Rhode Island basketball.
Yeah.
Sounds like a solid player who had a good career, but not sure with not knowing what league they played in, because that to me makes a little bit of a difference.
They played in the SENE.
Okay.
D1.
Yep.
What's the Class A league?
Yeah, that's a good league, good player.
All right. So would you cut me again from Western Hills if you had all that information?
I knew he was going with that.
Very
specific stats there.
Up with that one. But here's the other thing, and you know this, who you were as a player back then.
Oh, of course, 110%. I would have cut me. I would have actually made me leave the gym in the middle of tryouts. I'm like,
that is one of the toughest jobs with It's on half of a court in Western Hills, with everybody thinking that their kid was and you got to keep 15 to 20,
I don't envy you. I was actually having this conversation with Jeff, and I go, Jeff, I'm going to say it and see what his response is.
That was my tough. If people ask me, that was my 1 in 24 year, but my toughest tryout ever was that tryout, without a doubt. Being young and being told, here's your list of 120 kids. I got hired kind of late. It was a last minute thing.
Yeah.
Was brutal.
All right. What was your opinion of the NBA Finals? What do you think? What's your takeaway from the bubble? And let's get a quick prediction for next season.
I think the bubble showed that you can play basketball and play sports if people follow the guidelines. It was exciting for me to watch a lot of those games, because we've been to the Rhode Island Magic for 5 years in a row, has gone to the Nationals and played at Disney on that court.
Yep.
So it was exciting, and I know from talking to some of our players, it was exciting to watch these pros play where we've played. So it was exciting for that reason. I thought it was, it was good for the country. It was good basketball to watch. But I think it was expected on the outcome. I think the Lakers were always the team to beat. They always, for the most part, have the two best players on the floor. And to the Heat's credit, they showed that team basketball, and if you can hit some threes and you take the charges and you rotate. So they made it a competitive series, but I think it was inevitable what the ending was going to be.
No, I agree. I gave Todd a little bit of a hot take, and I said I think team basketball is going to make a comeback. That the Miami Heat way of basketball, the way they play with a team-centric view, a superstar who wants to play defense, like the James Hardens, are going to out the window, who's ruining basketball in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to have role players who want to play and build a culture like that is going to be viewed as the new way to build.
It's the way. It's the way. It's what we try to teach. Team basketball, rotating. Helping out, helping your teammates up, all that. Very limited dribble and get your next person, get something open shot, and they did it well. The NBA, unfortunately, I think kids watch it. and see some of the Hardens in the 40 dribbles.
Yeah.
Guys that are passing up layups to shoot corner threes, when they have a wide open layup and they make 2 extra. And, we try to explain to kids that that might be the right play in the NBA statistically, because these guys can shoot like 68% with their feet set in the corner. So mathematically, it makes sense to pass up 2. But at the middle school and high school level and college, you take 2 points.
Take that layup.
Take that layup.
Would you call that the Harden effect or the Steph Curry effect? I feel like Steph Curry also has a lot to do with that.
I think a lot of the NBA has that 3 where they're shooting the data driven NBA now, where the corner 3, if it's open, is better than a layup. The Harden effect is definitely the players that now just dribble 17 times and end up in the same spot they were in. And you got 4 guys
try to barrel through somebody, draw a foul.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brutal. I can't stand watching the Rockets.
And that doesn't work in AAU because they don't call those fouls too often.
Yeah.
You got to get that game done in an hour. There's no foul. No blood, no foul.
No foul.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hit up our fantasy draft, and we're going to, just ask a few things on the way out. And we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. We have our guest, Rhode Island Magic Director of Basketball, Dave Tedeschi. Dave, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So we have our fantasy draft, last segment of the show. It is best fast food / takeout. So obviously, the rules, a little more options. We're going to name what you get from that place as well. We're going to start with Dave. We're going to go to myself. Todd's going to have the last pick, and it's going to be snake, like fantasy football style. So, Coach, what do you got first?
Asia Grill. So I'm number one. This is right up my alley because I'm a fantasy guy and I'm an eater. So I put a lot of time into this. Asia Grill.
Is that Asia Grill the Garden City?
That's the new one. So
So that's a good spot?
That is.
I just saw they opened up.
Yes. They're in Lincoln is their original location.
Oh, okay.
And you have to call like 2 days early to get into it. It's so good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to write that down.
I tend to go with a double order of their wings, which are unbelievable. And then I go with like a lo mein, fried rice combination plate as well. Unbelievable food.
All right.
I did not have that one on my list.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's
all right.
Disappointed.
I'm going to go with it's a national one, but this is my go-to, and Todd will appreciate this. He knows probably exactly what it's going to be. I'm going Taco Bell, number one. Right off the board, Taco Bell.
Not surprising.
The order is a soft taco supreme meal, no tomatoes, wild cherry Pepsi. Then we're going to follow that up with a steak chalupa supreme. We're going to get 2 Mexi melts that are actually off the menu now. And then we're also going to follow up with dessert.
Don't you have a secret order, like a code word order too?
We get 3 caramel apple empanadas.
3.
So that you can only so you have 2 that night. You save 1 for breakfast the next day.
Wow.
This order is going back to when I was a single man, and that was the go-to. Pick
That
up on the
Taco
way
Bell
home.
in Johnson right off the exit is probably really in big financial ruin now since you moved.
That's a 4 or 5 day a week.
The managers keep getting fired. Nobody can figure out what's going on.
Oh my God! I think Joey would appreciate that pick at number 1.
All right. Well, I think this is like Patrick Mahomes falling to me at 3, but I'm going to take Chick-fil-A. I think that's the gold standard fast food. And for me, if I get what I want, just the regular Chick-fil-A sandwich with the waffle fries. But sometimes I go grilled, and the spicy one's pretty good too.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Chick-fil-A. And then I'm gonna go with.
You know, I've
I'm
only
gonna
had
keep it
Chick-fil-A
Rhode
once.
Island. What's that?
I've only had Chick-fil-A once.
Oh boy, you're missing out. Dave,
Yeah.
have you had Chick-fil-A?
All the time.
Chick-fil-A is the best.
I used to have to travel through airports to get it before I came to
Oh,
driving like crazy to get it.
there are few disappointments are worse than getting in the mood for a Chick-fil-A at an airport and realizing it's a Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
That's rough. Those are rough times. So yeah, I'm gonna go Rhode Island here. Actually New England. I mean, I would go New Haven pizza, anything in New Haven, modern bar. But
Okay.
since Pepe's is now in Rhode Island, I'm gonna go Pepe's pizza.
You're a dick.
And really anything. You know, I mix it up a lot. Their fresh tomato pie is fantastic in the summer. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, so that's my jam.
All right, well, I'm gonna go. I feel like I got two that I'm gonna save towards it. I'm gonna go Waltz. I'm gonna go Waltz. There's so many options. I'm gonna go Waltz. I'm going Waltz roast beef. Specifically, the Waltz roast beef on Reservoir Avenue.
Oh, okay. That's a better one.
Yeah, the one in Warwick. I'm not a fan. Not very good. And it is a King Wolf. It is a hot pastrami with Swiss and mustard. Order of fries, well done. Order of onion rings.
Oh boy, these are huge orders.
Getting all the calories in for the week in one meal.
Huge order.
And that's just for me, by the way. There's no sharing this.
Oh boy.
All
right, Dave.
I can't believe you left me my top 3 picks. I knew number 3 I would get, but number 2, Casertas.
Which one?
Casertas.
I know.
Casertas.
I'm now I balanced my portfolio with some Chinese. I got pizza. In Casertas, I just go with the pizza, extra cheese, olives, pepperoni. Can't beat it. Best pizza.
Right.
Can't believe that wasn't on my list.
I don't know. I'll tell you.
Have you had Pepe's pizza?
It was hyped. I have friends that are from Connecticut, and I think they made the mistake of really hyping it up for me.
Yeah.
And I had it a couple of years ago at an AAU tournament when we were out in Connecticut. They couldn't wait to get it, and they bought like 5 boxes of it, and it didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Not do it
well,
for
Pepe's
me.
of all the New Haven joints is probably my least favorite, but since it's the closest to New Haven style pizza, because it is, that's where I go here in Rhode Island. It's right down the street for me. But yeah,
New
Haven pizza is jam.
Have you had Casertas though?
Was that in Federal Hill?
Yes.
I think I have had it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I used to live at the Promenade over there. I think I got it for takeout one time. It's pretty good.
I'm excited. And then the third one might be a little off the radar for Rhode Island people, but Zaxby's, which is
what is that?
Zaxby's is a chicken.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's big in the South, right?
Down south, yeah. So my oldest son goes to Florida State, and so about 4 years ago when we did a tour down south and drove up the East Coast, we fell upon a Zaxby's, and they have the best chicken tenders.
Yeah,
it comes with Texas toast, coleslaw, and fries. Unbelievable meal. So it's my first spot. Whenever I land to see him or I'm anywhere near a Zaxby's, it comes on the phone. That's where I'm getting.
Right.
Unbelievable.
All right. Yeah, I've heard that. It's kind of like, they got Bojangles down there too.
Yes.
A lot of fried chicken joints down in the South.
They have about 4 or 5 of them. That's the best. I tried them all. That's
all
the
right.
I'm gonna go. So when I go visit my in-laws, to where my wife's from, in Hampton Bays, I get Katrinka's. It is a takeout deli breakfast sandwich. It's the breakfast bullet. It's 2 eggs scrambled, sausage, bacon, home fry on a breakfast.
Why only 2 eggs? That's the light order for you. What's going on? You on a diet?
Because they have the breakfast bomb.
Oh, okay.
And that's just a little too much breakfast for me.
Wow.
There's usually a decent amount of drinking the night before. And then you get a half and half, which is like 32 ounces of half lemonade, a half iced tea.
Oh, there you go. 32 ounces.
Around like, yeah. So, there's going to be some gluttonous. Not that was coming off the board, but I feel like it's definitely worthy of a number 3 pick.
All right. Maybe you could get like a little endorsement deal there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what you're driving for?
We have a big Long Island following, by the way. Huge in Long Island.
All right. So I'll go Rhode Island and go East Side Pockets.
Oh,
that's my number 3. I just get the chicken kebab with everything. Just load it right up. I've been up on there a few times, and the lines because of the social distancing at East Side Pockets are insane. People still waiting up there. I'm talking all the way up to like sneaker junkies. It's crazy,
Really?
but yeah.
Oh my God.
So I'll go with East Side Pockets, and then I'll go another right around the corner. Since Matt brought up breakfast, I'm going to go with Bagel Gourmet, but the Brook Street Bagel Gourmet,
Oh, the
not
original.
the Thayer Street,
Yeah.
the original.
I go
used
to
to live around
Olay
the
because
corner
it's
from there.
easier, but Brook Street is definitely the better.
Bacon, egg, and cheese on it, everything. Keep it simple. So yeah, I got everything covered here. I got breakfast, pizza. I got my Chick-fil-A, my East Side Pockets. Pretty well-rounded, well-balanced team. Good team basketball here.
That's
What I'm
it.
looking for.
You have a good list. I'm gonna go. I could go local, like I get it like twice a week from the store, usually. But I'm gonna go drive-through. I'm gonna go Sonic.
Oh,
Oh, I love that sound.
you got me.
I'm going chili cheese coney, the big one.
Obviously the big one.
Obviously the big one.
You're not getting the mini.
No. Order for only small order of fries, but I'm all in on the raspberry slushy with Nerds candy. Large, definitely large.
These orders are like you're playing basketball regularly and you're burning all those calories off.
Well, that's why I have to wear the jeans that stretch a little bit because
Extra Peloton ride.
exactly. All right, Dave, we got you for 2.
Yeah, that was one of them. That was a good pick.
All right.
Yep.
Again, I'm going team balance. So I'm going to go California Taco.
Oh, great
Where's
pick.
that?
Several locations. I normally get the one on Reservoir Ave. So it's authentic, tacos. And I get the tacos sometimes that I'm normally going with the quesadillas. Comes with the yellow rice.
Is that better than Taco Bell?
It's an upgrade. It's a little bit of an upgrade. Taco Bell was on my list because I wanted to have a balanced portfolio, but it was
not even in the same stratosphere.
Not even
my order from Taco Bell is going to be the best, the highlight
But
of this draft.
are the tacos like Taco Bell tacos? Or are they like, like Taco Bell's like very Americanized tacos?
No, they're real tacos.
These are not
They're real like Mexican tacos.
Real Mexican tacos.
Right. Like the corn tortillas.
They are. They do use a corn tortilla.
Okay.
They do make it fresh on the grill. They have a couple of different styles that they do. Really, really good.
Okay.
So I'm going with that. And then because you took Sonic away, and I do need to have some sandwiches to balance it out, I'm going to go D'Angelo's.
Good pick.
All right.
Number 9. That's an easy one. Large number 9. Lettuce, ketchup.
Very New England order right there.
The number 9.
Number 9. Large.
The large number 9.
Yeah.
All right, so that was your 5th pick.
Yeah, I got a good team.
You closed out.
I am gonna go. I have so many options. We've been getting deep into getting Panera at my house, but I think I'm gonna go with another
Don't
classic.
insult me by saying Panera.
No, but I'm going with another.
Stop.
I'm going with another classic. I'm gonna go with another drive-through, a Johnson special when I lived there. So we're gonna go BK Lounge. For those who don't know. We're going original chicken sandwich. We're going 10-piece chicken tenders, order of fries, strawberry milkshake, and a Coke.
Wow.
It's a light meal. It's a light meal.
Did you say cookie?
Cookie or a Coke?
Coke.
Coke.
A shake
But
and
a cookie too, probably.
No, well, sometimes they have the Oreo pie,
Right.
but that's not always. And then I did say, off the air, I said I was going to bring in like my 5B because they're closed. Dave will appreciate this.
You did get a bonus pick here.
I'm going to get slide in a bonus pick that nobody's going to have. Dave will appreciate this. Remember the original Ribs and Company that had the drive-through on the back where the Washington Trust is?
Absolutely. Yep.
Order ribs, half loaf of onions, order a mozzarella sticks, and some potato skins. Love that place. That should never ever have closed.
Ribs and Company. You get the itis after that?
Oh, it was awful. I was just on the couch, just gross. It was gross.
Yeah, I bet.
As good as it sounded, I felt that gross equally afterwards.
Oh, I can imagine. All right, so I have Chick-fil-A, Pepe's, Eastside Pockets, and Bagel Gourmet. Remember that place Simple Greek in Garden City?
Yes.
I would have probably picked them too. I was a big fan of Simple Greek, but they're closed. So I'm gonna go with I gotta get some Mexican in here. I'm gonna go with Moe's Southwest Grill. One of my jams right there.
And what do you get from there?
I usually get the bowl or just the chicken burrito. Now that the white meat grilled chicken is back, and just load it up with the free chips and salsa, and that's it. Very simple.
That's a solid draft.
Yeah, it's
we're gonna
pretty
have
good.
we're gonna have to post this draft. We're gonna make a post.
People need to know.
We're gonna have to put it on the Magic page.
Now,
and
Asia
see
Grill.
if Dave wins.
I'm gonna tell my wife we have to go to Asia Grill like right away because they
try the Asia Grill.
They just opened in Garden City, and I was curious about it. But you know, some of these Asian places are like okay.
Oh, outstanding.
Okay.
You ask me, the line is literally 100 deep. If you're any holiday, you can't even get in.
Oh boy.
So that's how long it's lined up. You have
Looks
to wait.
like it's a good place to sit down and have dinner too, though.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Great. It really is.
Cool.
It's consistent. The food is always consistently good there, no matter how busy they are.
All right.
Well, Dave, before we head out, we wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. We had
thank you.
probably a solid half hour plus of technical difficulties before we could get it moving. What do you want the listeners to know about the Magic? Where can they find your information? To anybody listening, what do you want to head out with?
You can find our information right on social media, or Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have over 5,000 followers on those platforms. And we have a comprehensive website, www.rhodeislandmagic.com, that has all of our information as well. And I know from talking with parents, the two things that parents look for when they're looking to choose an AAU program, because there is a lot of choices, is coaching and how well organized is that program. So, we talked about our coaching. I couldn't be any more proud of the coaches we have. And, in terms of organization of a program, we have a scheduling coordinator, we have a travel coordinator, we have a social media coordinator. We have a lot of people that are working behind the scenes to make sure that everything is organized and run smooth. So that way my coaches just have to worry about coaching, and then, parents have easy access to all the information they need. So that's one thing I would like to say. Those are the two strengths of our program, is our coaching and our organization. And if you want your child to have fun in a competitive environment but get better, the Magic's the program.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, when my son gets old enough, he can play. And if you allow me to coach, we might not even want me anywhere near your program, but that's fine.
No, listen, we got them lined up. I got 2020. We're up to 2030. We got guys teens having baby. We got people. We got them lined up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys. This is another episode of the Ocean State Athlete Podcast with Matt and Todd. Thanks for listening, and make sure you subscribe and rate us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Todd, thanks for a great show.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you soon.
All right.